Good day, my dear friends, and welcome to Aunt Betty's Stories. It truly warms my heart to see you here. Come, step inside and make yourself comfortable. I have a wonderful story to share with you today, one that I hope will stay with you long after we part. When my daughter first told me she had met someone, I felt a mix of relief and excitement I hadn't felt in years. She had grown up so carefully, so quietly, watching the world with cautious eyes. I had worried over every heartbreak, every disappointment. And now, here she was 26, smiling with a light in her eyes I hadn't seen since she was a little girl. I thought, finally, maybe she's found someone who will care for her the way she deserves. The first time I met him, he seemed perfect. His smile was soft, and the way he looked at her made me want to believe every good thing I had ever hoped for. He held her hand gently, like it was the most precious thing in the world. He spoke politely to me, asked about my day, noticed the little details, the way I brewed tea, the small marks of life in my kitchen. I welcomed him as I would a son, and I felt proud of myself for raising a daughter who could attract such kindness. For weeks, I told myself everything was fine. I watched their laughter, the way they shared simple jokes over dinner, how he helped her with small chores without being asked. I poured him tea, and he complimented it gently. I folded clothes with a smile, thinking life had a way of rewarding good hearts. I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, this was the happy ending we had been waiting for. And yet, there was something. I couldn't name it at first. A hesitation in his smile, a glance that seemed too quick, too calculated, a message on his phone that appeared and disappeared too fast. I tried to ignore it. I told myself that mothers worry too much, that my fears were shadows without reason. I kept my thoughts to myself, even when I felt a small weight settling in my chest every time he visited. Then one ordinary afternoon I found a glove. A single, soft glove tucked under the cushion of the sofa where Aisha sat every evening. First I thought nothing of it, gloves are easy to lose. But inside the glove there was a small card folded neatly with a name I did not know, and a tiny key wrapped in tissue. My hands trembled when I held it. The air in the room seemed to change, slow and heavy. Something about that glove spoke louder than words. It whispered secrets I did not want to hear. I did not shout. I did not confront anyone. I sat quietly at the table, staring at the glove, listening to the soft hum of the house. My daughter laughed in the next room, completely unaware, and I felt a chill that made me want to cry. I thought I had met the man who would make her life easier, happier. But that glove, it made me question everything. I held it tightly and realized in a sudden terrifying moment that the life I imagined for her, the life I had hoped would be safe, might not be what I thought at all. And that night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence of the house, wondering how one small glove could hold a truth that might change everything. I grew up in a small house at the edge of town, with a garden that caught the sun in the mornings and a kitchen where the smell of herbs and tea lingered all day. My mother always said that a home is made of small things. A warm smile, a clean counter, a cup of tea poured with care. My father worked long hours, and when he came home, he would laugh easily and tell stories of the world outside. I watched him and learned that life was built in the quiet moments, not the loud ones. When I had Aisha, my daughter, I wanted her world to be like the home I remembered, calm, steady, full of small joys. Her father had left before she could remember much about him, and I raised her alone. We had routines, small and steady. Breakfast at 7, a walk to the park when the weather was fair, tea at 4, and quiet evenings where we would sit together and read or talk about our day. I tried to give her the safety I had once felt as a child. Aisha was gentle, cautious, and thoughtful. She loved books more than toys, rain more than sunshine, and she had a curiosity that made her pause before she acted. When she was young, she would sit on my lap and tell me about the world she imagined, the characters she created in her mind. I would listen, pouring tea, letting her words fill the room, feeling proud and sometimes wistful that life moved so quickly. Over the years, our life was small but full. We celebrated birthdays quietly, baked simple cakes, and invited neighbors only when we felt it was truly worth it. I watched her grow carefully, knowing how fragile the world can feel to someone who loves deeply. She learned to protect her heart, but she also learned to give love generously. It was a balance I watched her navigate with pride. When Aisha started dating, I felt a mix of curiosity and caution. She introduced me to a few young men over the years, Some polite, some indifferent, some careless with words. I would make tea and we would sit together trying to talk, trying to see who they were. A mother learns to notice small details, the way someone looks at her child, the care in their movements, the patience in their voice. Some passed the test easily. Others left me silently worried. Then came Imran. The day she introduced him, I remember the light in her eyes first. It was soft like the glow from a lamp in the evening, steady and comforting. He arrived with small flowers in hand, and I felt a warmth I hadn't felt in years. He spoke to me politely, asked about the house, about the tea, and noticed the small details, the herbs on the windowsill, the way I folded the napkins. I let myself believe in him. In those early days, their happiness was quiet but visible. I watched them in the kitchen, laughing over a simple meal, his hand brushing against hers while she looked down and smiled. I watched them in the garden, sharing small jokes, tossing leaves in the autumn wind. The house felt brighter, not because of light, but because of laughter and gentle attention. Even then, there were tiny signs I almost ignored. A hesitation in his voice, a pause when answering questions, a glance that lingered too long or too briefly. I told myself mothers worry too much, that shadows are often just the result of overthinking. I reminded myself that my daughter's happiness was the most important thing. I smiled and offered tea. I made sure to praise the food and welcome him warmly. We had ordinary afternoons filled with ordinary joys. We baked together on rainy days, made pancakes for Sunday breakfasts, and drank tea at the small round table in the kitchen while sunlight came through the curtains. I watched them carefully, but I told myself not to interfere. There is a fine line between caution and suspicion, and I did not want to cross it. I began to notice small habits. He would check his phone often, sometimes in the middle of conversations. Messages would appear and disappear. Sometimes he looked tired or distracted, and she would ask gently if he was okay. I watched from the doorway sipping tea, wondering if I was imagining things. Most times I told myself I was. Mothers have vivid imaginations, after all, and fear is often louder than truth. But there were also moments that made me hope. The way he remembered her favorite tea, the way he asked about her childhood, the way he helped with chores without being asked. He seemed thoughtful and kind, at least on the surface. I held on to those moments, convincing myself that my daughter had chosen well. We shared small celebrations too. When Aisha got a promotion, he brought flowers. When she cooked a new recipe, he praised it gently. On quiet evenings, they would sit together reading or planning the weekend. I saw her relax in ways she never had before. My heart would swell quietly, grateful that she had someone to share these simple joys with. Even so, a mother cannot ignore the little details. There were glances that seemed calculated, pauses that felt too long, and an occasional nervousness when I asked about his day. I noticed how he avoided certain questions and smiled too quickly at compliments. I told myself it was normal, that all young men have secrets. But a small unease began to take root in my chest, quiet but persistent. I tried to focus on the good. I poured tea, I smiled, I welcomed him into our small home. I wanted to believe that the life I had imagined for her, safe, happy, simple, could exist. And I tried, day after day, to ignore the whispers of doubt that grew louder each time he visited. That was our life then. A mixture of warmth and caution, hope and quiet worry, laughter and the occasional shadow that no one spoke about. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, unable to see what lay below, but aware that one small misstep could change everything. And I did not know that the moment that misstep would appear was closer than I imagined. At first, the little signs seemed harmless. A pause here, a smile there, a small glance that lingered a second too long. I tried to convince myself that I was imagining things. Mothers notice everything, and sometimes they read shadows where there is only light. I told myself that my daughter was happy, and that was all that mattered. But the signs did not stop. One evening, I noticed the faint lipstick mark on the collar of his shirt. It was almost invisible, a soft pink smudge that could easily be overlooked. Yet my hands froze when I saw it. I stared at the fabric, my mind spinning. Could it be nothing? Or was it a sign of something I did not want to see? I carefully folded the shirt and returned it to the wardrobe, telling myself I was overreacting. Still, a weight settled in my chest. I began to pay closer attention, watching how he moved around the house, listening to the subtle inflections in his voice, the hesitations, the careful avoidance of certain topics. I found myself wondering if my hope had blinded me to what was right in front of me. One afternoon while making tea, I overheard a phone call. I was standing near the doorway, stirring the kettle, when I caught a fragment of his conversation. "Yes, she thinks I'm coming tomorrow," he said. Another voice, unfamiliar to me, laughed softly on the other end. He mentioned a name I did not recognize. My hand shook, and the spoon rattled against the cup. I froze. For a moment I debated whether to walk in, confront him, demand answers. But I stayed still. I watched the way he spoke, careful, casual, yet not casual enough to be innocent. After that day, the small tensions began to pile on one another. He would arrive late sometimes, leaving excuses that sounded rehearsed. He had a way of answering questions that made them feel incomplete, as if the words were chosen to distract rather than explain. I told myself to trust my daughter, to trust the moments of kindness I had seen, but doubt grew quietly like a shadow at dusk. Aisha noticed changes too. She seemed tired after some of his visits, quieter than usual. She would make tea without speaking, folding her hands in a way she hadn't before. When I asked if she was all right, she would smile softly and say, "I'm okay, Mama." But I could hear the faint tremor in her voice, a subtle vibration that spoke of worry she would not admit. I wanted to reach out to tell her I had noticed, but I remembered her words from years ago. "Mama, sometimes we need to handle things ourselves." I stayed silent, watching her, feeling a mother's quiet ache. The small incidents became patterns. Messages that appeared and disappeared on his phone. Unexplained errands. Occasional glances that avoided mine. I tried to rationalize everything. Maybe it was work. Maybe it was stress. Maybe I was imagining things. And yet, no matter how I tried to push the worry away, it stayed, lingering at the edges of my consciousness, reminding me that sometimes the world is not as simple as we hope. One evening while folding laundry, I came across a receipt tucked between the pages of a book he had borrowed from the living room. It was for a place I did not know. The handwriting on the receipt was neat, careful, and impersonal. My stomach turned. I held it in my hand, trying to breathe slowly, trying to convince myself it was nothing. But I knew. Mothers always know. Even when they don't understand the whole story, they can feel when something is wrong. I began keeping my observations to myself, not wanting to alarm my daughter unnecessarily. I watched them in the kitchen, shared quiet dinners, small moments of laughter and normalcy. I saw the ease she had in his presence, and I wanted to believe he was a good man. I wanted to protect her hope, but I also watched the small gestures, the way he sometimes avoided eye contact when I entered the room, the careful phrasing of his words, the soft exhalations when he thought no one was listening. The tension in my chest grew quietly. Some nights I lay awake listening to the faint hum of the refrigerator, imagining the conversations I might overhear, the truths I might uncover. I did not want to be suspicious. I wanted to trust. But trust requires proof, and proof had not yet appeared. Only signs. Only whispers. I tried to focus on the moments that felt real. The laughter. The way he noticed her favorite tea. The small acts of kindness that seemed genuine. I clung to those. But the unease was persistent. It was in the small cracks, in the soft shadows that lingered when he left the room. Then came the day that changed everything. It was ordinary like any other. The sun was soft in the late afternoon, spilling across the kitchen floor. Aisha was reading and he had gone to the shop. I was tidying the living room when my hand brushed across something under the sofa cushion. At first I thought it was dust, a piece of cloth. Then I saw it. A single glove, neatly folded, leather soft but unfamiliar. I picked it up slowly, turning it over in my hands. It was ordinary at first glance, but something about it felt deliberate, important. I opened it carefully and found a small card tucked inside, folded in a way that suggested secrecy. A tiny key was wrapped in tissue, placed carefully in the glove's palm. My heart began to race. I could not explain why, but the glove felt heavy, as though it carried a weight far beyond its size. I did not call out. I did not confront anyone. I sat at the table, the glove in my hand, and watched the sunlight fade across the floor. Aisha laughed softly in the next room, unaware. The ordinary rhythm of our home continued, but I felt a shift, a quiet, unsettling awareness that something was hidden, something I had not yet seen, something that might change everything. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. The glove rested on the bedside table, folded neatly, almost innocent looking. But I could not ignore the feeling that it was a signal, a whisper of a truth waiting to be discovered. My mind wandered through possibilities, fears, and what-ifs. I tried to breathe slowly to calm myself, but I could not. The unease was persistent, insistent, and I knew that the world I had imagined for my daughter, safe, kind, simple, was no longer certain. I realized then that the signs I had tried to dismiss were not random. The hesitation, the careful words, the glances, the phone messages, they were all threads, weaving together into a story I did not want to know. And yet, a mother cannot ignore what she feels. Even when the truth is painful, even when it threatens the life she imagined for her child, she must pay attention. The days after I found the glove were some of the hardest I've ever lived. I carried it with me quietly, as if holding it too tightly would shatter it, or me. I placed it in my bag sometimes, moved it from the living room table to the kitchen counter, always with the same careful hands, always trying to make it look ordinary. My mind kept replaying the moment I saw it, the small card folded neatly, the tiny key wrapped in tissue. The object seemed innocent, yet it hummed with a hidden weight I could not ignore. I wanted to tell my daughter immediately. I wanted to say, "Aisha, look at this. Look what he's hiding." But something held me back. I remembered the time she had asked me to trust her, the time she had faced small challenges alone and had come out stronger. I knew that dropping this revelation on her without proof might hurt her unnecessarily. So I stayed silent, watching, observing, waiting for more clues. He came to our home that evening like any other. He carried a bag over his shoulder and a polite smile that was practiced, smooth, comforting. He greeted me softly, asked about my day, and I forced my lips to return a smile. Aisha ran to him from the kitchen, her laughter filling the room. I watched their hands meet, the familiar brush of warmth, the softness in her eyes that always came when she felt safe. I told myself to focus on those moments, but the glove lay heavy in my chest, an invisible warning I could not dismiss. Later, while he was in the kitchen pouring water into a glass, I set the glove on the table. I did not speak at first. I simply watched him as he froze slightly, his hand hovering over the counter. The subtle shift in his posture told me more than words could. The smile did not reach his eyes. He said almost casually, "Where did that come from?" "Under the sofa," I replied calmly, trying to sound neutral, almost indifferent. He paused, fingers tightening slightly on the glass. "Oh, that must have fallen from my bag," he said, voice careful, practiced. I could feel the hesitation, the tiny fracture in his words, and a cold certainty began to settle in my chest. This was no ordinary object. He was hiding something. I could have confronted him right then. I could have demanded the truth, but I did not. I sat quietly, my hands folded over each other, the glove between us like a small, insistent warning. I wanted him to see that I knew, but I also wanted him to reveal it willingly. I wanted him to tell the truth, and if he didn't, I wanted my daughter to know it from me, not by chance. That night, after he left, I examined the glove again. The card inside was folded in such a way that it could have been overlooked by anyone. The key, small and delicate, was wrapped carefully in soft tissue. My hands trembled as I unfolded the card. The handwriting was neat, precise, almost businesslike. The words were few but chilling. "For now, keep it safe. When the time comes, do what we planned." My breath caught. I read it again and again. What plan? Whose plan? How was it possible that this man, who had seemed so kind and gentle, had hidden this from us? My mind raced through every small interaction, every polite conversation, every laugh, and I began to see them in a new, darker light. The kindness had been real perhaps, but it had been a mask. I sat at the table long into the night, listening to the faint hum of the refrigerator, staring at the glove and the card. I imagined scenarios, each one worse than the last. I thought of my daughter, her innocence, her trust. I thought of how carefully he had entered our lives, how smoothly he had convinced us of his intentions. My heart ached not for myself but for her. The next day I watched them together. She laughed at something he said, her eyes bright and trusting. I wanted to call her, to tell her immediately, but I remembered the promise we make as mothers, to protect, to guide, not to destroy. I had to find the truth first. I had to be sure before I shattered her world. Over the next week, I began to observe quietly, taking note of every action, every glance, every small inconsistency. Messages that appeared and disappeared. Phone calls taken quietly in the hallway. Small slips in his speech when he thought no one was listening. Patterns began to emerge, tiny threads weaving a story I had feared. One evening, as I was tidying the living room, I found another clue. A receipt tucked between the cushions of the sofa. It was from a location I did not recognize, dated only a few days earlier. The handwriting was different from the card, but careful nonetheless. My heart sank. This was not a one-time secret. There were layers, hidden intentions, and my daughter was in the center of it. I decided I could no longer wait. I called her into the living room while he was making tea in the kitchen. I placed the glove, the key, and the card on the table between us. My hands were steady now, though my heart pounded. I needed her to see, to understand, and to prepare herself for the truth that I could no longer protect her from. She looked at the glove, confusion and concern flashing in her eyes. "Mama, what is this?" she asked softly. Her voice trembled, not with anger, but with the weight of uncertainty. "I found it under the sofa," I said quietly. I think he's hiding something, Aisha. Something important." Her eyes widened slightly. She looked at him, then at me, then back at him. The smile that had once been so full and trusting began to falter. "Mama, are you sure?" she whispered. I nodded. "I am. I've watched. I've noticed. This is not right. We need to know the truth." He came into the room then, calm but guarded, and saw the items on the table. His eyes flicked from the glove to the card to the key, then to us. For a moment he said nothing. I saw a flicker of something, hesitation, guilt, perhaps fear. He tried to explain, but the words were measured, careful, almost rehearsed. Each sentence sounded rehearsed, lacking the ease of someone who had nothing to hide. We listened quietly, each of us taking in the information. Every explanation seemed incomplete, leaving gaps that only widened the sense of unease. My daughter looked at me, seeking guidance, seeking reassurance. I held her hands gently. "We will figure this out," I said. "Together." For the first time in weeks I felt a shift. The tension in my chest remained, but clarity was beginning to form. The glove had revealed the hidden truth, and with it the path forward. It would not be easy and it would not be painless. But at least now we could face it, together, with honesty, and with the knowledge that the life we had imagined might need to be rebuilt. The days after the glove incident were quiet but heavy. The house felt different. Even the familiar sounds, the hum of the refrigerator, the soft creak of the stairs, the kettle's whistle, seemed to carry weight. Every corner of our home reminded me of what had happened, and yet I knew silence was necessary. My daughter and I had to breathe before we could speak, and the truth we had uncovered demanded careful handling. Aisha was quieter than usual. She moved slowly through the house, lingering over simple tasks as if each one was a test of normalcy. She made tea without her usual cheer, folding her hands in thoughtful pauses. I watched her from the doorway, unsure if I should intervene or let her come to me in her own time. Her eyes often flicked to the table where the glove, card, and key still rested, untouched since the night of discovery. I sat with her one afternoon in the living room. The sun fell softly through the curtains, highlighting the small dust particles that danced in the light. I reached for her hand, gentle and careful, so she would not flinch. "Aisha," I said softly, "we need to talk about what we found." She nodded, swallowing hard. Her voice trembled when she spoke. "Mama, I didn't know he was like this. I didn't see it before." "I know," I whispered, squeezing her hand. "Sometimes people hide parts of themselves so well, we can't notice until it's almost too late. But now we know, and we can decide what to do." We spoke for hours that afternoon, carefully untangling our thoughts, naming fears, and sharing our observations. I told her everything I had noticed, the hesitation, the messages, the patterns. She told me what she had seen too, the faint inconsistencies, the moments that didn't feel right. We were careful to speak in a calm, deliberate way, not allowing anger to cloud our judgment. By evening, we had decided that we could not let this continue. We needed clarity, honesty, and finality. I called him to the living room and placed the glove, card, and key back on the table. My hands were steady, though my heart thumped with quiet intensity. He entered, calm but guarded. His eyes flicked to the items on the table, then to Aisha and me. There was a pause, almost imperceptible, but it carried the weight of understanding. He knew we had discovered something that could no longer be hidden. I spoke first, gently but firmly. "We found these," I said, motioning to the glove, the card, and the key. "We need the truth. No more half answers, no more hiding." He swallowed, hesitated, and then began to speak. His words were careful, deliberate, almost rehearsed. He admitted some things, small secrets, lapses in judgment, miscommunications, but withheld others. I could see the tension in his face, the flicker of fear, the subtle guilt that had been there all along. Aisha listened quietly, her hands folded in her lap. Her face betrayed a mixture of disappointment, sadness, and growing strength. She had learned that even the people we trust most can falter, and yet we can still stand tall. After he left, we sat together in the quiet of the living room. The evening light slanted across the floor, soft and forgiving. We did not speak much at first, simply holding hands and letting the silence carry the weight of relief and grief. I felt her small hand trembling in mine, a gentle reminder of the fragility of trust and the resilience of the human heart. We began the slow process of emotional recovery. We talked openly about boundaries, about trust, about the importance of observing reality with a careful eye. We shared our fears, naming them, and slowly the heaviness lifted. Aisha learned to separate her hope from her judgment, and I learned that protection sometimes comes not from intervention, but from guidance and support. We restored our routines gently. Tea in the afternoon, walks in the garden, reading together in the evenings. The small rhythms of our home, once ordinary, became healing rituals. I found comfort in simple acts, folding clothes, setting the table, making her favorite snacks. Each small gesture reminded us that life could continue, even after betrayal. There were moments of reflection, long and quiet. I thought about the man, about the care he had initially shown, and about the parts of him that had been hidden. I realized that people are complicated, capable of kindness and deceit at the same time. Understanding that helped me temper anger with empathy, without excusing wrongdoing. Aisha too found her strength. She began to reclaim her confidence, to engage with the world again, to trust cautiously but openly. I watched her laugh again, softly, not with the carefree abandon of before, but with a deeper appreciation for honesty and clarity. She had grown through the pain, emerging more aware, more discerning, more resilient. We also had quiet moments of grief. We mourned the innocence we had lost, the trust that had been broken. But even in grief there was growth. Each shared tear, each whispered acknowledgement of pain, became a thread weaving us closer together. The experience, though painful, reinforced our bond. The glove, once a symbol of secrecy and betrayal, became a lesson. It reminded us that vigilance and care are necessary, that appearances can deceive, and that truth, once uncovered, allows for healing. I kept it for a while, tucked in a drawer, not as a relic of fear, but as a reminder of the quiet strength a mother can hold, and the resilience a daughter can find within herself. We learned patience with each other, with life, and with the process of understanding. We discovered that love does not always protect from hurt, but it provides the foundation to recover, to rebuild, and to hope again. I realized that the life we had imagined, safe, simple, perfect, was never guaranteed. But what we built afterward together was stronger, more real, and more enduring. The warmth returned slowly, quietly, not as a flood, but as a soft glow that filled the corners of our home. Evenings became our time to reflect, to share, to embrace the ordinary pleasures once more. We laughed over small jokes, drank tea in silence, watched the rain hit the window, and simply existed together, present and aware. The fear, the tension, and the doubt had not disappeared completely, but they were tempered with love, trust, and the knowledge that we had faced truth and survived. The house was quiet that evening, softer than it had been in weeks. The sun was dipping low, spilling golden light across the floor, and I watched my daughter move through the rooms with a calm I hadn't seen in a long time. There was no laughter yet, not the easy, careless laughter of before, but there was a new steadiness in her movements, a quiet resilience that filled the spaces around her. I realized then that the life we imagined, the perfect, safe, happy life, was never guaranteed. But what mattered more was the life we built after. The life we shaped with our own hands, our own care, and our own hearts. We had faced uncertainty, deception, and fear, and we had survived it together. That survival carried a quiet triumph of its own, a soft victory that did not demand celebration but deserved acknowledgement. I thought about trust, how delicate it is, how easily it can be broken, and yet how necessary it remains. I thought about forgiveness, not as a way to excuse wrongdoing, but as a way to release the heavy weight of hurt that can tether us to pain. And I thought about love, not the naive, unquestioning love we sometimes hold, but the deep, enduring love that remains through trials, that grows even in quiet sorrow, that strengthens bonds instead of tearing them apart. Aisha and I sat together that evening with tea in our hands, the warmth of the cup seeping into our fingers, the steam rising gently between us. We spoke softly, not about anger or blame, but about moving forward, about understanding our boundaries, protecting ourselves, and embracing the moments of beauty that life still offered, about how strength is not the absence of fear, but the courage to continue despite it. I knew there would be days of doubt still, moments when memories of betrayal might surface, when shadows of worry might creep in, but I also knew that we had built something stronger than fear, a quiet, unwavering bond that could weather storms and hold steady through uncertainty. That bond, that trust between mother and daughter, was more valuable than any illusion of perfection. As night fell, I placed the glove back in its drawer, not as a relic of betrayal, but as a reminder that vigilance is necessary, that awareness can prevent hurt, and that love is most powerful when paired with discernment. I smiled softly, feeling a quiet gratitude for the lessons we had learned, for the resilience we had discovered, and for the strength that comes from facing truth together. I looked at my daughter sitting beside me, her eyes calm and thoughtful. I saw not only the girl who had trusted too easily, but the woman who had grown stronger, wiser, and braver because of what had happened. And I realized, with a gentle ache and a quiet pride, that life does not have to be perfect to be beautiful. It only needs honesty, courage, and love. We raised our cups together, a simple toast without words, a silent acknowledgement of all we had endured and all that still awaited us. And in that quiet, ordinary moment, I felt peace, soft, steady, and enduring. The shadows of fear had lifted enough to let the light back in, and I knew that whatever the future held, we would face it with open hearts, aware minds, and a love that had been tested and strengthened. And so our story did not end with betrayal or sorrow or fear. It ended with understanding, with gentle hope, and with the quiet reassurance that truth, no matter how painful, can lead to healing, to growth, and to the kind of calm strength that lasts a lifetime. I thought my daughter had finally found the perfect man, but a single glove revealed secrets he had been hiding. As small signs of deceit emerged, I watched quietly, guiding my daughter with care and caution. When the truth finally came to light, we faced it together, confronting betrayal while preserving our bond. In the end, we found healing, strength, and the understanding that love and trust grow stronger when tempered with awareness. Lots of love to you, my dear friends. Did you enjoy the story today? If you did, please give the video a like and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next story. Until then, take care and goodbye.